So welcome to another episode of the things you should do when you start FC25 career mode. These are going to be my best tips for when I start my own career mode saves, so I hope it helps you out as well. If you play career mode hardcore, you probably will know all the things I speak about today, but if you're a beginner, this should help you get started. This is part 3 in the series. If you do enjoy, make sure you leave a like and make sure you subscribe for more FC25 tips and tricks. Another thing you should do when you start FC25 career mode is obviously start training your players. In the task list, you might see this shortcut that says review training plans. You can click on that, or you can go all the way to the squad section, flick to the right until it says training plan, then just enter the training plans from there. Now, depending on your settings, when you set up the save, you might have an automated plan and also the more manual training plan. If you do automated plan, you can select from one of the following plans here, and then you just have to select a sharpness threshold. So as you can see, it says all our performance is active as long as sharpness is lower than 50. If you do more energy focused, you can set a threshold where it says this is active as long as fitness is lower than 70. Now, you might not do the automatic plans. You might go to training plan and do a more manual approach. So with this one, you can tinker with individual players. So some players you can keep on balanced. Some you might want to do all out energy. Some you might want to keep on all out performance. What I usually do is pick a player from the starting 11, give them a more energy focused plan, and then I set that. Then I press triangle to apply this to all the players in the starting 11. So that means all the players that play every week are going to have the same energy recovery training plan. And then I go to the subs and reserves. I pick a player from the sub list, give them a more performance-focused training plan because they're not playing 90 minutes every week. They're going to need more sharpness when they come on. So I just pick that and then I apply it to all the subs and reserves. I find that works pretty good. I'm not a man to really tinker with individual players over and over each week, so I like to set and forget certain things. But yeah, it's up to you. Just check this out because training plans are important for match fitness and sharpness for your players. So it's very important that you have a setting which lets them recover, but also keep their sharpness as well. Another thing you want to do when you start FC career mode is develop your players. Now what you want to do is go to the squad hub, go to the development plan tile, click on that. Each player has a development plan. Control your players' development by either growing their role or retraining them in a different position altogether. Your players can improve their role rating over time. When that happens, the potential of key attributes will also be boosted. Your players' role development is influenced by a range of indicators ranging from active XP that they accumulate playing games to their career stage. So once you get to this, what you want to do is basically set up training plans for some of your players. You don't have to do all the players, just do whatever works well with different players. With Onana, for example, you might want to turn him into a sweeper keeper, and that's going to boost his kicking and also his goalkeeper positioning. It also boosts his weak foot, and he will level up in 20 weeks. Luke Shaw might not benefit from a development plan. As you can see, a balanced approach covers all his attributes, but if we make him a false back, it's still not really going to grow many of his attributes. Even attacking wingback won't do much. So yeah, it doesn't look like we need to really put him on certain development plans. With Malacia here, you can see that a balanced plan increases a lot of his attributes, but in this case, it doesn't really target sprint speed and acceleration that much when you compare it to an attacking wingback one, which boosts up his sprint speed and acceleration a little bit more. So what I would suggest is take a look at all your players and see if they're going to benefit from putting them on development plans. Not all development plans are going to be useful to your player. It just depends on what attributes you want to grow on your player. So Rashford might benefit from doing an inside forward development plan where his finishing and shooting stats are going to be greatly improved. If we keep it unbalanced, his finishing stats will not improve as much. I've noticed that the development plans work better when the player's stage is currently at growth. Another thing you should consider while you're here is position conversions. There might be players in your team that play in certain positions, but they could also be useful in other positions as well. They just haven't been converted to those positions yet. For example, Rashford at the moment is a left mid or a striker. He can play both. But let's say I wanted to make him a right midfielder. You would just hit the bumpers, go to the position conversion feature, and click on right mid. It would only take him 2 weeks to go from left mid to right mid. This position conversion feature is also useful for people with low transfer budgets. Instead of wasting money in the transfer market buying certain players for those spots, you could just convert what you have. So let's say we had a lot of left mids, but we needed a right mid. I could convert Rashford into a right mid. Some conversions will not be very beneficial. As you can see, making Rashford a CM would take 546 weeks. You could make him an attacking midfielder or a cam in just 4 weeks as well. You might have a player like Dalot that might want to be a right midfielder instead of a right back. It would take basically around a year to convert him into that position, but he might be a good right midfielder, who knows? This is a feature I enjoy in career mode because I like to sometimes put players in different spots, and it does help when you're running low on that transfer budget and you need to fill a gap. Sometimes you can just use what you've got convert them to a new position, and that's basically it. You don't have to buy a player. Look at Mainu. He can play even as a right mid in 4 weeks, or a left mid in 4 weeks, or a cam. So there's so much potential and options with this feature. Another important thing you need to do when you start career mode is sort out expiring player contracts. If you go to the Squad Hub tile, you might see contracts expiring soon. Ahmed has 12 months left, Lindelof 12 months, Eriksen 12 months, Johnny Evans 12 months, and Gore 12 months. Why is this important? Because you need to sort out these contracts before they go down to about 6 months, because that is when they can negotiate on a pre-contract with other clubs, so you might lose these players. If you want to keep certain players, it's definitely beneficial to sort their contracts out straight away when you start your save. If you go to the Squad Hub, you can go to contract and then just press the sort button, and that'll show you all the years remaining on player contracts. Just focus on the ones with 1 year left and just renew them. You can do a negotiation, of course, or just delegate the renewal. In this example, you might want to keep Maguire, Ahmed, Johnny Evans, Lindelof, Eriksen. You would renew those contracts and get them sorted. With other players, if you don't want to keep them, just let them expire. But yeah, if you don't sort this out at the start, then you might risk losing these players to other clubs, because they can negotiate with other teams when there's 6 months left. So ideally, you want to get this sorted before the January transfer window. Another thing you should do when you start FC 25 career mode is, of course, get your scouts out, because sometimes it might take a couple weeks or months to get the results back to you. You might have a scout report already set up depending on which club you choose in the game, and that presents a couple players that you could sign, and it tells you player stats as well. But you could also set up a scouting network where you can send scouts out to different countries and look for some hidden gems as well. So we've got this one out already, this one in Spain, this one in Germany. If you add a new scout or choose a different scout, you can send them to other countries as well. If you use the bumpers, you can go to instructions, which makes things more specific. So you can add a new instruction here. Let's say you want to look for a midfielder, and more specifically a CDM, who's between 16 years old and 20 years old. You can specify key roles if you want to as well. So if you use a tiki-taka play style, you might want to search for a player that could fit that role. Overall condition, you can also look for first team quality, backup, prospects, world-class prospects. There's a few things there. And then there's also play styles that you can search for as well if you really want to. If you set up that instruction and you send a scout out, he should be able to deliver you some players that fit this criteria here. Don't forget to relocate or recall scouts as well if they don't find people you're looking for. If you have a certain player in mind, you might just want to go to the search players option. I'm just going to choose a random player here. Click on the player you want to take a look at and ask the scout to scout this player. You want to do this as soon as you can, because it does take a while for the person to come back with the player stats. In this example, it says 10 days remaining. That's not too bad. I have seen worse, like 30 days. But regardless, it is important to get those scouts out there so they can start looking at those transfer targets, because depending on the club or the scout, you might not have information about these players, and you need this information to make transfer decisions in the game. I'm now putting channel members' names in my videos. So if you want your name featured in my videos, click the link in the description and become a Vapex FC member today. I hope you did enjoy the video. If you did, make sure you leave a like and remember to subscribe, and hit the thumbnail in the middle to watch another FC 25 video.